So utilizing the game plan, we absolutely crushed it inside of Team Roar. We had multiple 100% profit returns, buying call options directly at open, also during the middle of the day. For those of you who decided to execute the game plan that I posted last night, you should have had a phenomenal green day today, making hundreds of dollars, if not over $1,000. In terms of the overall game plan, I made it very, very clear that if the SPY gaps up, it's likely going to close strong at the highs, and we can see a move to 548. In terms of the levels that I gave you, I made it very clear if we are seeing a break above the resistance zone, 541.50 to 542.50, you're going to want to buy call options once it retests, once it drops back down to that bullish zone. Look for a bullish 30-minute confirmation. A bullish 30-minute confirmation did end up forming at that zone, which was at the low of day. It was a great opportunity to buy call options at the level using the 30-minute bullish confirmation strategy that I taught you. I also made it very, very clear. If we break above 544 and you're seeing bullish 30-minute confirmations, we're going to see a move to 548. With that being said, towards the end of this video, I'm going to be breaking down and recapping the overall trades. Right now, we're going to get straight into the newly updated price action analysis. Let's get into it. So in terms of the overall SPY, it is beginning to repeat history. It's beginning to, repeat that pattern that I walked you through in terms of last night's video. So to fully understand everything, make sure you go back and watch last night's video. But just to quickly go over some, just to quickly go over the pattern here real quick, you can see there's a slanted trend to the downside. There's a slanted trend to the downside, right? This is a weekly chart. Each candlestick on this chart represents 1 week's worth of price action, right? So you can see right here, you have this red bearish daily candlestick. If you look at the tip and on the bottom, right, it looks nearly identical to this red bearish candlestick. And then you can see once the SPY ended up gapping up, it did not drop back down to the weekly lows. It ended up being a strong bullish week, right? So in terms of history repeating itself, it's already beginning to repeat itself. You can see SPY did not drop back towards those lows. Once it gapped up, it maintained, and it did end up having that gap and go, and it did end up closing strong at the highs, right? And if you just study the overall history is showing that we can continue to have a strong overall move to the upside, And we do have a gap that is waiting to fill above on the SPY. If you go back to all-time highs, you're going to see there's a gap that is waiting to fill above on the SPY. If this can just quickly load here, bear with me, give me one moment here. We're trying to get this to load as quickly as we possibly can. Here we go. So in terms of this move, you can see right here, there's a gap that's waiting to fill above at 563.68, and there's also a gap that is waiting to fill above at 564.80. Based off the weekly pattern, if we are continuing to maintain bullish above this overall previous closing price or above this 543 low, we will be on track within time to fill these gaps, man. So with that being said, we are very focused at the moment on buying call options. The market is extremely oversold for the short term being. Now, of course, we're going to have to wait for bullish confirmations. So you need to understand that we were one of the first ones to capture this trend reversal, right? And this could be the beginning of an overall very bullish move on the market to start to explode back up and fill those gaps within time. So based off the pattern, if it repeats to an exact T, this is going to be a very strong bullish week. On very strong bullish weeks, what I like to do is I like to buy the dips. In terms of one strategy that I have to buy the dips, I wait for a massive breakout above a resistance level. Once the SPY drops back down to that previous level, I wait for it to retest. When there's a bullish 30-minute confirmation, I like to buy the dip with anticipation that that previous resistance has now reacted as support, and the SPY is going to continue to climb higher overall, right? So with that being said, if you also look at the daily chart, this was the pattern that we went over in terms of last night. In terms of the daily chart, you can see right here, we have this, red bearish candlestick to the downside. We have this red bearish candlestick to the downside. You have this trend reversal candlestick before that. You have this trend reversal candlestick before that. The next day, it gaps up, it closes strong at the highs. And then you can see in terms of today, it ended up gapping up, and it did end up closing fairly strong to the highs. During after hours, it was moving up as well. Now, with that being said, if this pattern continues to repeat itself in a similar cycle, you can see on the next overall day, it has a small drop under the previous closing price, and then it continues to break out. And if you study the history, it did end up spiking back to the highs of this bearish red day. And in terms of the highs of this bearish red day, it's going to be 551.52. So in terms of this overall move, we are currently on pace to see a move to 551. That's where we're on pace to, right? And I'm going to continue to update on this overall trend, right? So we captured a reversal, we captured a trend. Now we're going to try our best to milk it, because I showed you that weekly chart. That weekly chart says this can last for a very, very long time. So we take it one day at a time, one step at a time. We know the levels and we know the buy zones to be buying at. We just wait for confirmations. History is going to repeat itself in similar cycles. If there's no confirmation at the level where history is supposed to repeat itself, then we do not enter the trade, right? Because history is not always going to repeat itself. We caught a reversal, we caught a trend. We're going to continue to try to milk it as long as we possibly can. As long as we're getting these bullish confirmations at the new levels, we're going to keep on buying call options, right? So in order to be, in order to make money within the market, you have to capture trends, man. You have to capture trends very early within the market if you want to, do very, very well on the overall morning trades, right? You could be the last person to capture trend, do very, very well if you want to do it towards the power hour trading session, right? But in terms of capturing this overall trade, I mean, this opportunity, if you look at the weekly chart, this truly does show you this could be a phenomenal, even swing trade, man. I mean, just look at this overall chart. It looks nearly identical, man. I'm telling you, you have this green candle here. You have this green candle right here. You have this slanted downtrend. You have this slanted downtrend. You have this slanted downtrend. You have this support that's forming at this previous resistance, right? See how the previous resistance on the weekly chart is towards this 524 level, and then we have a strong breakout, comes crashing back down, and it bottoms at the previous resistance. Well, your new previous resistance is at this 534 level, and then it has a breakout, and we're starting to bottom at that previous resistance, and there's gaps to fill above, man. So like I said, this could even be a swing trading opportunity. But in terms of the overall levels that I want you to keep updated heading into tomorrow, is going to be very simple. If you look at the overall daily chart, you can see if the pattern repeats itself in a similar cycle, we can have a small drop under the previous closing price and then another strong bullish trend day. Also, in terms of this week, we are bound to test this 552 level. So with that being said, this is going to be the buy zone. This is going to be the buy zone heading into tomorrow. So in terms of the SPY, it ended up closing at 546.41, right? So that's going to be, you can call your key resistance level. If you see a break above 560.41, you're seeing bullish 30-minute confirmations above this 546.40 level. You're going to want to be buying call options, and you're going to want to ride this up to the next level, which is going to be at 549. And then the next level above that is going to be 551. Make sure you're selling into moves at key levels. Make sure you're setting profit stops. Now, in terms of the dip buying zone, so that's the resistance, that's the breakout zone. In terms of the dip buying zone, it's going to be these lower levels. It's going to be a zone. This is going to be the zone. So again, we're looking for slightly below the previous closing price. That's what the daily chart tells us. This right here is your make or break zone, man. Take a look at this overall level. If you look at the extended hours chart, you can see right here, this is very make or break. 545. When 545 reacts to support, SPY explodes up to 547. When we break above 547, we go to 551. So 545 right here, this extended hours support, right? This 545. And then also this previous resistance that reacted as support, right? You had previous resistance right here at this 544 level. And then you had a very strong breakout to 547. And then what do I tell you on bullish days? This is where it had a breakout. Remember last night's video? I told you 544. Remember I told you we break above that, we go to 547. That's a very strong breakout. It happened. So when it drops back down to test that previous breakout level, it's likely going to react to support because it's a bullish day and it just had a very strong breakout. Now it's oversold. Buy the dips on the bullish 30-minute confirmation during the power hour trading session. I had a nice 30% win on the SPY call options. If I would have timed it better, this could have been over 1,000% profit return. Like I said, during that power hour trading session, you have to nearly time these, perfectly. You can always buy a select strike, but I did fairly well trading SPY call options during the power hour trading session, man. It was very simple. Previous resistance reacted as support. So the break and retest with the bullish 30-minute wick, the bullish 30-minute wick on bullish trend days. And I gave you the reasons for the gap and go and why I was going to close strong in yesterday's video, man. You should have been all over calls. Once this 30-minute candlestick, close bullish. Once this 30-minute candlestick, close bullish. And I told you in last night's video, this was the zone I gave you. Remember this overall zone? This is where we drew the lines in last night's video, 542.50 to 543 at this overall level. I made it very, very clear. If you're seeing a bullish 30-minute confirmation, you're going to want to be buying call options. So based off the analysis that I gave you, you should have been buying call options when the green bullish 30-minute confirmation closed here. You should have been buying on the opening up here. And then when it has that massive breakout, you sell to move, you set profit stops, you get stopped out for profits, right? And then when it drops back down to that previous resistance level at 544.25, where it triggered this massive breakout, you get back in right here. When this 30-minute candlestick closes green and bullish, you buy into the opening of this next 30-minute candlestick, and then you sell into the rip. So based off the analysis, those were the two opportunities where you should have been in on call options. You should have been in on call options right here at this 11:30 a.m. mark, and you should have been in on call options right here towards this 3 p.m. mark. Very, very simple strategies at the levels. So with that being said, in terms of tomorrow's game plan, very, very simple. 544 to 545 is our dip buying zone. 544 to 545, dip buying zone. If you're seeing bullish 30-minute confirmations, buy the dip. In terms of the resistance level, if you see a break above 560.41, bullish 30-minute confirmations, buy the breakout. Those are going to be the two levels to buy call options. The levels above that, 547 and 551 to 552. Now, you can look for a red bearish 30-minute confirmation to do a scalp on puts. There's going to be a pullback. If we do have a bullish day tomorrow, there should be some sort of pullback. So if you're seeing a red bearish 30-minute confirmation towards this 550.50 to 551.50, you can try a scalp against the overall trend for a scalp on puts. Remember, break above 547 is going to send us to 550.50 to 551, right? That's another level as well. So we have a buy zone of 545 to 544. Dip buy zone, 544 to 545. Breakout resistance zone, the first level is going to be the previous closing price, 546.41 and 547. So that's going to be the overall breakout resistance zone, right? And then in terms of put options, you can attempt puts towards this 551 level. That is going to be the analysis heading into tomorrow based off the pattern and based off that trend to continue to repeat itself, right? So we captured a reversal, we captured a trend, and we're going to continue to try to capture and milk it until it no longer lasts, until it no longer works. So if we're getting confirmations and we try it and it stops working, then it stops working. If we get no confirmations at the levels, then we don't lose it all because we don't try buying calls if there's no confirmations. That's how this works in a sense. We're going to continue to try to milk this overall trend. We were very early adopters to capture this as closely as you possibly could have caught it. We were prepared one day in advance, man. So with that being said, in terms of a bearish flip, let's say history doesn't repeat itself and the trend is switching. For a bearish flip and that trend does not repeat itself, we need to go under 544, this key support, and we need to form bearish 30-minute confirmations under that level. The next level below that is going to be 542. The next level under that is going to be 540. Very interested in buying call options at these two levels for a gap reversal at this 540 level. Also at this 538 to 537.50 key gap breakdown overall zone that we went over in last night's video. If you are seeing a reaction of support towards this overall level, if the SPY does flip bearish, we should continue to bounce at this 536.50 to 537.50 zone, right? So those are the overall levels. Based off this video and the information that I'm providing to you, I would focus on the game plan for call options. If you're not seeing the confirmations, just sit on the sidelines, man. That's going to be the overall game plan. Like I said, inside of Team Roar, we will have newly updated price action analysis. We will have new levels, and we will have many other trades that don't necessarily correlate with this overall analysis. This is just the video analysis that prepares you a day before the market open in terms of taking advantage of trends and becoming self-sufficient in a sense, right? There's going to be new levels and new opportunities during the pre-market and during the normal trading hours, right? So I showed you the trend, I gave you the new levels in terms of the trend to repeat itself, and I also explained to you what would need to happen for a break of trend. We need to go under 544, react bearish. If that triggers, we fill the gap, look for an opportunity to buy calls at the gap, and then below that, we should bounce at 536.50 to 537.50. That's going to be the overall game plan. Now, inside of Team Roar, I'm going to walk you through this, man. We made it very, very clear that the game plan for today is to buy the dips as long as we are holding above 540.32. With that being said, we did end up following the overall game plan. As you can see right here, we are very early adopters to capturing these trends in real time, because that's what we do, man. We capture these trends in real time. So you can see right here at 9:31 a.m., as soon as the market opened, we ended up buying 548 SPY calls for 58 cents a contract. And then we ended up selling these calls at 76 cents a contract. That was the first win on the overall day. Everything is alerted in real time. And then once the trade's exited, you get access to the real-time trade recap screenshot. With that being said, in terms of the overall trade, this is where we ended up buying those call options. I'm going to walk you through this, man. So in terms of the overall calls, we ended up getting in directly at the market open, nearly towards the lows on the day. And then we ended up selling right here towards a very nice peak. It's a good thing that we got out because the SPY did end up crashing back down even lower than our entry. In terms of the overall day, they went to 80 cents. So on that particular trade, man, we sold those calls at the exact peak and we got in towards the lows, towards the bottom in the morning. That was a phenomenal trade. Now, in terms of winning, it's non-fucking stop, man. It keeps on happening. I'm going to show you. So we had a small win on puts right here. Puts were up 13 cents, very cheap contracts. But in terms of the next big win, it was at 11:48 a.m. Let's buy 547 SPY calls for 56 cents a contract. We bought these calls at 56 cents a contract. And then as you could see, we ended up selling for over a 110% profit return at 12:35 p.m., man. Who the fuck do you know is printing non-stop? Gives you the game plan a day before in advance, and then we're printing non-stop at the speed of fucking light, buying cheap bar, low risk, out of money option contracts, selling them deep in the money with a 90% plus success rate doing this. With that being said, this is where we end up buying the call options, as you can see right here. So in terms of where we ended up getting in on this particular trade, we ended up getting in right here towards this mid 50 cent mark. And then we ended up exiting the position right here as soon as we got out. This was a nice peak and it had a small drop. And then it continued to go a little bit higher. It went to that 140 range. But as you can see, in terms of the trades on calls, we basically sold the peak twice on both the trades on fucking calls, man. Who the fuck do you know is selling the exact peak on two trades? And those were the overall trades that were made on the day. And then I had a trade during power hour. It was a 30% profit return. I did end up buying SPY call options. I explained to you why I bought the SPY calls. It was very, very simple. I was expecting a very strong bullish close in terms of the overall market trends. There's been so many bullish flips throughout the last 30 minutes. So just paying attention to the overall short-term trends. We've seen many bullish overall 30-minute trends, man. But I was expecting the market to close overall strong based off of the analysis that I gave last night. And then in terms of confirmations, we have resistance right here at 544, and we had a massive breakout to 547.50. So if the SPY is going to drop right back down to that previous resistance on a day where it's supposed to be bullish with a gap and go, I'm going to buy call options, bullish 30-minute confirmation, bullish 30-minute confirmation. I was buying those call options, man. I got in a little bit too early and the theta decay did affect them, but the bullish 30-minute confirmations were there. That's why I was getting in a little bit earlier in a sense, man. But if you're expecting a very strong bullish 30-minute close, one of the best things you can do is wait until the very end. You could try to buy SPY calls a little bit earlier because they're extremely cheap and low risk. But if you see a massive drop, like a 1 point plus drop, very, very quickly within minutes, that's the time to buy SPX at the very end. And typically in terms of that move, you're going to want to wait past 3:45 p.m. man. These calls that I ended up buying at 55 cents, they dropped to 8 cents. We held them till extended hours and we got out as soon as a minute after the market closed. They ended up closing in the money. We got out at 69 cents a contract, man. It was a nice quick 30% win. But if you would have bought those SPX calls on the dip, it would have been over 1,000% gain. Or if you even would have averaged your cost down the SPY calls or just picked up a new strike or just gotten in at that time, it would have been a 1,000% profit return, man. It just truly is crazy how big the difference makes in such a short period of time on those last 30 minutes. So just keep in mind, if we're expecting a bullish 30-minute close, right? A strong bullish 30-minute close, and the SPY has a quick drop past the 15-minute mark into close, that's the opportunity to buy the dip on SPY and SPX. And then in terms of measuring the move on how big of a drop and where it could potentially bottom, that's where you just need to understand basic support and resistance along with 30-minute price action, man. But a good start is like a 1 point drop. If you're expecting a bullish 30-minute close and you are seeing a 1 point drop on SPY, you're seeing a 10-point drop on SPX, and there's less than 15 minutes on the shot clock, that is the time to get in on those calls, man. And it happened today, and there was a 10x opportunity. It's just you have to understand, you have to be premeditated on the move before it actually happens, because when it happens, it will typically reverse instantly. So you have to be premeditated, pre-aware with the overall plan of that knowledge. And you also have to execute it immediately. You cannot wait, man, because it tends to recover very, very fucking quickly, man. I was getting ready to buy and alert these fucking SPX calls on this play. It's just the move happened so fucking fast. So I just stuck with the overall SPY calls. It happens sometimes, man. But like I'm saying, man, if you're seeing, like, look at this, SPX dropped from 5,463 all the way down to 5,457, man. A 6-point plus drop in a minute. And then as soon as that happens, it recovers a minute instantly. So you don't have much time in terms of that situation. But in that situation, it's more premeditated and you need the knowledge. If not, and then in terms of just trying to follow the trade, you need a little bit of consolidation, at least, a minute ideally, because as soon as that move happened, it skyrocketed right back up. But yeah, we absolutely crushed it. So for those of you who are being serious, who are serious about joining our secured private organization, where we are capturing these trends in real time, buying cheap, far, low risk, out of money option contracts, typically 3 to 5 legs out. We are known for selling them deep in the money for the biggest percentage gains within the overall market. And we have the highest win rate doing this, 90% plus. Is going to be the first link down below in the description if you'd like to join us. Like I said, not only do we give you the game plan to make money, but we teach you the strategies to become self-sufficient to make money, man. That's going to help you a lot in terms of trading alongside with us just by having this education and these overall game plans, man. Like I said, if you want to surround yourself and trade alongside with us, it's going to be the first link down below within the overall description, man. I'm telling you, we have many members every single day. I see the same faces come back, making over $500 to $1,000 plus on the overall day, man. So if you do want to join us, the best time to join is now. It's going to be the first link down below within the description. This is the only channel that prepares you to trade the best setups at the best prices. We teach you how to make money and we give you the exact game plan and we teach you the strategies on how we capitalize on these overall, price action moves, these overall trends, man. So if you're serious about trading alongside with us, we trade nonstop, man. It's the first link down below within the description. We buy cheap, low risk, far money option contracts. We're known for selling them deep in the money 90% of the times, man. And we've created a real-time options trading alert system that is far more advanced than just trade alerts or callouts. So just to give you some background, like I said, you have to join the program to actually experience this. There's a lot more advanced to this, but just to give you some background, based off the system that we've created, we do not use stop losses. Inside of Team Roar, we do not use stop losses. We put in our max risk per trade, the entire value of the contracts, very cheap, very low risk, typically under $50 in terms of the bare minimum, low entry under $50 a contract, 50 cents, right? So with that being said, we do not use stop losses. We let the contracts expire worthless if the trade does not work out for the vast majority of the time. And also, in terms of the overall system to gains, we like to add to wins. When we win, we typically win big, which means 100% or multiple 100% profit returns. And then typically a couple times a month, you will see 1000% gainers. It could be an all day morning hold, or it could be a last 30-minute power hour trading session move. Now, with that being said, we add to winners quickly. So in terms of us, a small amount to be up is like 10, 15, 20%. We're buying cheap, bar, low risk, out of money option contracts. We're known for holding the loner for the bigger wins, and we're known for selling in the money, right? So by being able to do this, to have the skill set, we're going to be able to win very, very big percentage-wise. And we're also going to be able to put ourselves in a position where we have unlimited options. We don't need to set a stop loss. Our max risk per trade is the entire value of the contracts. That's how cheap the contracts are. So there is no need for a stop loss, which also gives us the opportunity to hold the trade all day without experiencing more than our max risk, and to have that possibility of a dead play, meaning it drops 50, 60, 70% against us, coming back to life and going in the money later throughout the day to sell in the money. There's always that possibility. In my experience, 70% of the time, the dead plays that we do enter a little bit too early or theta decay is affecting us and they drop 50% plus, they tend to come back to life and they tend to go in the money 70% of the time, man. If we had a stop loss, we would not be able to experience that happening 70% of the time, and we'd be stopped out for a loss, right? So we put our max risk per trade. There is no stop loss. We eliminated the stop loss. And what we did was we put people in the profits by adding to winners. Once we're up a little bit, we add to winners. After we add to winners quickly, when we're up like 10, 15, 20%, we set profit stops. We set profit stops to ensure our new average cost isn't going to go from green to red on the overall trade. We're going to get stopped out for overall profits, and we can move our profit stops as the trade is working in our favor to ensure that as we're holding, if the market has a big move against us, that we're not going to experience that big drawback in gains, and we are going to maintain the overall bulk and meat of the move. So with that being said, that's just some background to the overall zero-day options trading alert system. If you do want to experience this, it's a 90% plus success rate. We are buying cheap, far, low risk, out of money option contracts. We are known for buying 3 to 5 legs out, and we are known for selling 90% of the times. You are not going to be able to find anything like this available within the market or be able to experience anything like this, I'm telling you, man, this is a one of a kind real-time zero-date options trade alert system. So for those of you who want to trade alongside with us, it's going to be the first link down below within the description. We are going to absolutely continue to crush it heading into this week, man. We are already on an absolute fire start. With that being said, we will see you guys tomorrow within the chat.